Hi, welcome to the Haystack. My name is Jonathan, and this is my daughter. She's joining me for this video. I was actually listening. I've been hearing a lot of YouTube channels. I tend to have earbuds in and listen to different things throughout the day. And I've been hearing a lot of these YouTube channels who are very critical of the church. These are active members, or at least were in some cases. And your stinky feet. But these guys, no, feet down, please. But these guys have been very critical of authority in the church. So church leaders, prophets, apostles, administrative things. And of course, there's always administrative differences and things that we don't agree with, maybe. But it's odd because everyone's diving into the scriptures and pulling out scriptures that are very critical of saints falling away and being deceived. But the thing that I don't ever see them, yep, good job. The thing I don't ever see them do is recognize how many breakoffs from the church there were in the early days who have apostatized and turned away, and then eventually have gone on to accept purely secular teachings. And so I think it's harsh and inaccurate when they condemn our prophet, because any of these things they actually criticize, such as the name of the church and things like that, and a variety of different things, and even temples, and even the calling of a prophet. They criticize it. Yeah, that's super silly. They criticize the calling of a prophet. This is why my executive function in my head is just deteriorated. I feel interrupted all the time. So if I sound like I'm not making sense on my videos, it's usually because there's an unseen distraction going on. All right, I need you to be quiet, okay? But these guys are highly critical of the prophets, the temples, church, things like that. But then they act as if they are believing members of the church. They don't acknowledge those who have apostatized, and they don't recognize it in themselves. And the thing is there's ridiculous things going on all the time. And so, like, can you please stop? I can't think when you're doing that. Okay. Like, I've had family who ends up, justifying certain things in their lives, and because they want to. Please stop. I can't think. Can we sit quietly for a little bit and keep our feet down? Or do you want to go play? Okay, thank you. She is so adorable. I was at church yesterday, and we blessed our 4th child, and that was really great. And I just love those kids. Anyways, maybe I'll do a video with the baby sometime. But I find it very hypocritical that they condemn church leaders these days. And every time they condemn something, I actually look what church leaders have actually said about it. Because yes, there's sometimes inconsistencies with things that leaders say, and often they may disagree on stuff, but the council of the 12 and the first presidency, they are a council. They work together. They don't vote on the best idea, right? So we've heard this before. Now, what happens when we have a church leader? Like, I had a church leader who came out and said, hey, you need to get the jab. Like, everybody, like, go get the jab. The prophet said to go do it. And I'm like, ooh, okay, like, I really don't want to be put in this position, because in a secular sense and in profession, I was put in a similar situation where they're trying to get everyone to go get the jab, and basically painting people who didn't a particular way. Yet those guys were the ones that are always sick with that sickness. I never got it. I mean, I got sick once, but I got tested like tons and tons and tons of times, and it wasn't that. My wife believes she had it, but all the testing we did for her said that no, we didn't. Anyways, in circumstances like that, I see a lot of people get really bitter against church leaders and and church administration, and they start justifying and articulating things that were not said by the prophet. And so whichever way you go, and I'm just using this as an example, and whether people got it or not, that's their decision, because it was left to our own. Don't do that. No. Yep, you did it. So it was left to us and our own families and receiving revelation and what we should do. And meeting with my doctor's obviously trying to sell me it, but at the same time, given my heart concerns, because I drank so much caffeine, that I had a high heart rate. I've always had a high heart rate, even at my peak performance. Now taking Cardio Miracle, and I feel just fine. But this is it. I just don't like seeing people of either side become disagreeable against other saints or against church leadership, and then they start looking for things to be wrong. Like, people are looking for things to be wrong to justify their desire to do something, whether it's tithing or word of wisdom or Sabbath day or fasting, whatever it is. Like, we all are trying to justify our own desires to get what we want, right? And we don't want to feel guilty. That's the big thing. I don't want to feel guilty about this. How many times have you heard that? Like, I don't want to go to church because I don't want to feel guilty for doing this. And technically what they're doing isn't really wrong, or even against church standards in some cases for people, but they don't want to feel judged by people, which I could care less. People are going to judge you. Who cares? Deal with it. Do I judge people? Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not like, I judge them based on, yeah, maybe I don't want to leave my kid alone with you, like common sense stuff, but I don't think less of people. In fact, I feel more connected with people who show a little bit more vulnerability, and I tend to show more vulnerability, and that tends to make me a target. And it's when I see that happening with somebody that I felt like I trusted, it makes me very sad, and I go, I wish this wasn't the direction you went. So it made me think of 3rd Nephi, and people are saying there's going to be a sifting of the church, and yes, there is. There's been a sifting. There's a harsh sifting. And yes, there are subtle distractions and things to take you off the path, but you can recognize it by their fruits. There are fruits that bear wickedness, not just like, not just, oh, I didn't like the way somebody did this, but then again, like, well, is it truly wicked? lots of people about the church financial stuff. I don't know the whole situation, but judging by it, it sounds to me that there was somebody who was critical of how the church used its money, categorized its money, and he wanted to get his cut and ended up getting a percentage. And he didn't sound like a philanthropist himself. He didn't care about people or whether money was going to help people or anything. He just saw an opportunity and wanted to benefit himself. That's what I saw. To me, it has nothing to do with the law of tithing. You know, they could go and throw it in the trash for all I care, because I'm going to pay the law of tithing to the best of my ability. And if recent church leaders have asked us to do something, I believe that they've received revelation and there's a purpose for it. I'm not going to criticize it. And if there's something I disagree about it, I ask, why do I disagree about it? Do I need to know the ins and outs and background of everything? Because we don't, of anything, even the things that we do follow. And we more often than not end up following the very enemy we propose to disapprove of when we start questioning those things, because we don't have all the answers. And it's just ridiculous. So I trust that either way, I do pray and try to find. I want to gain a testimony of everything that we're asked about. And I'm not perfect at doing everything, but I do want to gain a testimony of something. And if I don't want to feel like I'm needing to question something all the time. I have to do that enough with the government. So, like, who knows what other direction or where else we would be. But I do know that the Lord utilizes our circumstances and whatever the situation is. And when it comes down to it, in the last days, your virgins, the wise and unwise, it comes down to where their heart is at and what they are striving to do. Are they acting according to their knowledge? Which means, are they behaving? Are they having faith? Because that faith is acting upon that belief and knowledge and understanding. And so when we have that, and then we withdraw it and seek to justify a new pattern or a new habit or something that maybe will benefit us worldly wise, but has no promise for us hereafter, or will not build our character, you know what? I'll treat it as a law of sacrifice. A glass of wine is now healthy. Oh, now it's not healthy. This is healthy. This is not healthy. I don't care about that with the word of wisdom. If I've been asked not to drink coffee, tea, or alcohol, I'm not going to do that, because I have a hard enough time dealing with the true spirit of the word of wisdom, which is things, which is not taking things in excess. And I drink energy drinks. And to me, I'm like, I feel guilty about it. It's not strictly against the word of wisdom or anything. And I don't drink it in excess either. And I drink tons of water. But to me, it's something I want to personally improve. I feel like I would follow the word of wisdom better if I did that. And certain eating habits and patterns. Less processed foods kind of thing. So, am I really going to complain about these seeming people who try to paint these things like as if they're... Okay. Thank you for telling me. You want to say hi?
Hi. Where are you talking to?
I'm making a video.
To you? To yourself?
No, I'm making it for YouTube. For people who maybe want to understand a little bit more about Jesus.
Okay.
Do you want to tell them about Jesus?
No, thank you.
Okay, maybe later.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. So, I think I'll end here pretty soon. But ultimately, in 3rd Nephi, what we see that the prophet is preserved in the end. That it's not all the prophets and people who were seemingly pharisaical or Pharisee-like were taken away. It was people who were desiring to do what was good, and sometimes saying, hey, we need to improve in a certain area. People obviously don't like that. If I suggest a certain direction with missionary work, I start feeling great anxiety of how it will be received. And so I try to do what I did on my mission and try and find people myself and do things myself. But I don't know everybody out here, and my role is to assist the presidencies in their role. And so I'm trying to give them opportunities and ideas, a direction and things to how we can all coordinate and work better together. Because when I'm asked, what do you have for us? I'm like, that's my question for you. What do you have for us? And that probably drives up a lot of animosity towards me, and so you could tell how it's difficult in these latter days. Things are easier. Guys, hey, no fighting. So things are easier than ever now, but yet we're more slothful than ever too. So this is where we're at. It makes me sad. Guys, stop arguing. It makes me sad. Just like these kids, they're arguing over something that seems important to them at this time, but over a book and how they're holding it. How often do we have that same argument at church and on YouTube with people who are wanting to hold a passage of scripture in a particular way that somehow that disagrees to somebody else, and then they fight over it? It's not worth fighting over. If contention is there, the spirit is not. So, but it does make me sad, and I don't think that our church has lost the Melchizedek priesthood. I think we are led by prophets still, because everything I study from the prophets concerning those questions has been answered as recently as President Nelson in every single talk. And it just obliterates that not even a concern, but that idea. And it just makes me sad and going, you do know that we're supposed to have prophets in the latter days too, right? And they're supposed to have sealing keys. And all the world hates these guys. They're making friends, yes, but as we've seen in their recent poll, in fact, Connor Boyack with author of Tuttle Twins and president of Libertas Institute, I used to work for him. He just did a video talking about the statistics of how people feel in the U.S. feel about church members, and how church members feel about different categories of different people. Church members had positive outlook on others, whereas we had entirely were looked at negatively more than others. I thought, wow, okay, well, that's ridiculous, but it's prophetic. So when you hear these other YouTubers who are claiming that we're not being led by true prophets, we're being led by a true prophet. The keys and authority are there. It doesn't mean that everything they say is perfect or accurate, or maybe you have a different view of articulation, or maybe their view is based purely on a micro scale in their own family or ward or something. I have no clue, but we are led by prophets. Hey, buddy. Did you want a granola bar? Yeah. And
Gecko.
everything is gecko. And so, 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Can you open that for him?
Sure.
We are led by prophets, and that we are not just meant to take their word at everything. We need to study these things and distill upon ourselves. We need to have a well of flowing water of spirit coming out of us because of our testimony of Jesus Christ and because of our love of God and of mankind. So let's do that. I like that better than finding reasons to question and find fault with the very people who the Lord has chosen to help guide us and lead us and direct us, and who has the means and capability of doing so on such a large global scale to such a wide variety of people. So let's remember that. Thank you. Have a great day.